Hello, my fellow Americans and international friends, and welcome back to What's Going On in California. And today is November 2nd, 2021. Today we're going to be talking about the Breeders' Cup World Championships. We'll discuss a brief history of the event, and then we'll talk about this year's edition, which will be held at Del Mar Racetrack on November 5th and November 6th. But as mentioned, let's discuss a brief history of it because I think it's quite fascinating when you do research on it. So, back in 1982, a gentleman by the name of John Gaines had a vision for what he wanted to create for the sport of horse racing. And what that was basically the Super Bowl of horse racing. He wanted to create an action-packed afternoon of racing where it would consist of championship races, like I said, that would last all day long, and it would be 7 races originally to crown a champion for the juvenile division, for the sprint division, for distance races, all that kind of stuff, right? And so it was quite the idea. And he brought it up at a luncheon on Kentucky Derby Week back in 1982 at Churchill Downs. And his wife had no knowledge of what John wanted to create. So John basically kept this to himself before he had brought it out to the public. And on the way home that day, John's wife, Joan, had asked him, "Hey, John, that's a pretty good idea that you mentioned right there." And of course, it wasn't called the Breeders' Cup yet, but she goes, "That was a pretty good idea. How long have you been thinking about that?" And he said, "About 3 years." The other cool part about John Gaines is that he just did so much for the sport of horse racing, especially in America. He really, really did. He, of course, was the founder of Gaines Way Farm in Lexington, Kentucky. And in addition to that, he came up with the idea of the Kentucky Horse Park, which, again, is located in Lexington, Kentucky. And I'd just like to briefly share with you guys, I went to the Kentucky Derby in the year 2002. My dad took me to that year's Derby. And that's just something that you'll always cherish for your entire life, right? Just great, great stuff. I picked the winner of the Derby that year, War Emblem. I touted him all the way to the Derby on the plane ride over and just all the way to Churchill Downs. Went wire to wire at 20-1 odds. Great stuff. But anyway, here's a few pictures when we went to the Kentucky Horse Park. There's me in front of the sign. I know the lighting's not great, but there's 8-year-old me standing right in front of the wonderful sign there at the Kentucky Horse Park. Here's a few more. Checking out the horses right there. Pretty cool stuff. Just such a beautiful place, you know. Check this out. You see that horse that's coming out of the stall right there? That's John Henry. I was waiting for John Henry to come out of there. Here's one more. Checking out John Henry right there. Taking a good look at him. Yep, good old John Henry, living right across from Cigar. So it's not often you see 2 legendary horses like that living right across from each other. And that's just some of the stuff that I loved what, John Gaines did. And that's, of course, just a small part of what he's accomplished just for the equine industry alone. When you take 2 great racehorses like those. Again, just a small example when you got John Henry living right across from Cigar, and for people to come visit the park and check things out just like that. Just amazing, amazing stuff. I mean, you don't even have to be a true fan of the sport of horse racing to appreciate something like that. So just thought I'd share that with you guys. It's just, again, just some of what John Gaines has done for the horse industry altogether. And in talking about the Breeders' Cup, like I mentioned in my most previous podcast, the first one that was ever held at any racetrack was at the now defunct Hollywood Park here in Southern California back in 1984. And that day at Hollywood Park, it was only 7 championship races and a one-day event. Now in 2021, it has officially doubled in size. It's now 14 championship races and it's a 2-day event. So there you go. Just an amazing event, absolutely fantastic. Brings the best horses from all over the world to one racetrack over 2 days. It's so action-packed, and that's why I look forward to it every single year. So without any further ado, let's get into the handicapping part of things. I'll show this to you guys. This is the Daily Racing Form past performances. I remember when these things were $4.75. Now they cost $11 down at the liquor store. Times have changed. Unbelievable. I'll go ahead and throw you guys a couple selections of mine. So in the Breeders' Cup Mile, which will be run on the turf at Del Mar at a distance of 1 mile for a $2 million purse, I like the number 1 horse in here, Master of the Seas. This is an Irish bred, 12-1 morning line chance for trainer Charlie Appleby and owner Godolphin. Godolphin always sends solid runners over here for the Breeders' Cup, and just around the world, Godolphin always has solid runners when it comes to these big racing festivals. Master of the Seas is coming off a 7th place finish in the Queen Elizabeth II Stakes. Not the best performance, but I think the horse needed the race, and I think trainer Charlie Appleby thought so as well. If you go 2 back, the horse ran 3rd, only beaten a length and a quarter with jockey William Buick in the Unibet Joel Stakes, which was a Grade 2 event run at a mile on the turf at Newmarket over in Great Britain. And that was in late September. I thought that was a decent performance there. I think that gives the horse enough credentials in here to be competitive. 3 for 8 lifetime with a couple 2nd place finishes and a 3rd place finish out of 8 lifetime starts, as I said. So I think definitely has a chance. There's others in here that probably have a little stronger credentials, but I like Master of the Seas at odds of 12-1. I like the rail draw on the turf at Del Mar. It's a turf course where you really need to be in position going into the far turn. I always say that you don't want to be no more than 5 lengths back as you go into the turn there on the turf course, because it's the nature of it. It's not a very long stretch run there, so you definitely want to be in position. And I think on the turf course at Del Mar, you want that rail spot. At least you get a chance to make a decision when you break from the gate. So right there, I think Master of the Seas has a good chance at 12-1. I like Got Stormy at 10-1 as a backup play for trainer Mark Casse. Has a 1-for-1 record on the turf course there. Won the Grade 1 Matriarch a couple of years ago at Del Mar under Tyler Gaffleone, jockey Tyler Gaffleone. So definitely solid. Mother Earth for trainer Aidan O'Brien, legendary trainer Aidan O'Brien. Got a good chance at 8-1. And also Space Blues, who is the other Godolphin runner and also a runner for trainer Charlie Appleby. 3-1 chance coming off a win in the Qatar Prix de la Forêt. That was a 2-length win over at Longchamp, which is over in France. That was run at 7 furlongs on the turf on October 3rd, so a strong selection there. So we got Space Blues, Got Stormy, Master of the Seas, and Mother Earth in the Breeders' Cup Mile for moi. All right, let's take a look now at the $4 million Breeders' Cup Turf, which will be run at a 1.5 miles on the turf at Del Mar. My top selection in here is going to go to number 9, Sisfahan, the French bred for trainer Hank Grew and owner Darius Racing. If you go back 3 starts with this horse, it was a 20-horse field in the IDEE Deutsche Derby, which was run over in Hamburg, Germany on July 4th. Very impressive victory. It was one of those races where when they got to the top of the stretch, you had a few horses break off from the pack and go to the outside rail. Most of the horses went over to the inside rail. But if you look at this race, the way that Sisfahan won this race, and you should have heard the call, it was pretty good. It was very, very entertaining. Sisfahan won this race by 1.25 lengths, and at the wire, it seemed like the horse could have just went all night long, just going away in style. It was pretty awesome to watch the performance. Again, it was a great call, and it was in German. You should check it out on YouTube. Again, that was the IDEE Deutsche Derby. It was a Grade 1 event. And like I said, when the packs broke off, some of them went over to the outside rails. Most of them went over to the inside. They do that over in Europe quite a bit. They do it in Australia as well. They don't really do that in the United States. But that's just something that they do over there because of how the tracks play in terms of, the way the rain drains on the racetrack and things like that. So, but anyway, I like Sisfahan in this race. Comes off a 3rd place finish, only beaten 3 lengths in the Prix von Europa, which was run at Cologne in Germany on September the 26th. So the horse is coming over from Germany, French bred coming over from Germany. Wow. But got a great chance at 12-1. Like I said, I really, really like this horse. And as a backup play, I'm going to go with the number 3 horse, Domestic Spending for trainer Chad Brown. Chad Brown always sends out solid runners, especially on the turf. And he comes over from the East Coast here in the United States. And Domestic Spending, though, is coming off a 2nd place finish, only beaten a neck in the, looks like the Mr. D Stakes. Yeah, it was a grade 1 event there at Arlington Park, going 1.25 miles on turf. But, you know, 3 triple-digit speed buyers in a row with 2 wins. And like I said, second place finish last time. $1.4 million in earnings, 4-to-1 chance. That'll be my second selection right behind Sisfahan in the Breeders' Cup Turf. Another very competitive event that will be run before the Breeders' Cup Classic. And finally, let's talk about the biggest race in North American racing, and that, of course, is the Breeders' Cup Classic, which will be run at 1.25 miles on the main track at Del Mar for a $6 million purse. The Breeders' Cup Classic has been the final race of every single Breeders' Cup since 1984, and rightfully so. Save the best for last, right? To be honest with you, this is going to be a very interesting edition of the Breeders' Cup Classic because, in my honest opinion, I really believe that this is going to come down to it being a jockey's race. And what I mean by that is most of the contenders in this Breeders' Cup run their best races when they go to the lead. For example, you've got number 5 in here. His name is Knicks Go for trainer Brad Cox. 5-2 on the morning line. Let me just read you the last 3 buyer speed figures that this horse has run. 113, 111, and 104. That is very, very impressive stuff. Joel Rosario was aboard for all 3 of those performances in his last 3. And I do believe that he's going to be favored in this race. You've got a horse like Medina Spirit, who's 4-1 on the morning line for trainer Bob Baffert. He's definitely going to want the lead. Hot Rod Charlie, the number 3 horse at 4-1 as well. Loves to be on or just off the lead. You've got a horse like Tripoli, who won the Pacific Classic at Del Mar this year, right up next to the pace, only a length off the pace for most of the way before going on to win it under Tiago Pereira. Let's see, you've got a horse like Essential Quality, who won the Belmont this year and also won the Jim Dandy and the Travers at Saratoga. Ran a 107 buyer speed figure in the Travers, which was a very impressive performance under jockey Luis Saez at 3-1 chance on the morning line. So, you know, all these horses definitely love to be on or near the lead. So that's why I, in particular, I'm going to look at a horse like the number 9, Max Player, for trainer Steve Asmussen. Remember, Steve Asmussen came in with a horse called Gun Runner in 2017, and he went straight to the lead and won the Breeders' Cup Classic that year at Del Mar when the Breeders' Cup was held at Del Mar for the first time. So I think Max Player at 8-1 is definitely a good chance here. Definitely coming into form. If you take a look at the last 2 performances from this horse, a win in the Grade 2 Suburban at Belmont Park in New York. And then a win in the Grade 1 Jockey Club Gold Cup, a 102 buyer speed figure, 1 going away under Ricardo Santana Jr. So this horse, I think, is definitely showing a lot of impressive stuff coming into this race, working well over at Santa Anita here in Southern California. So I think Max Player at 8-1 definitely shows a lot of value for the quality of horse that he is. 4 for 11 lifetime, has banked $1.2 million in earnings. So definitely look for Max Player to be a big contender in this year's Breeders' Cup Classic. And I'll throw in another long shot selection in here, Art Collector for trainer Bill Mott. I like this horse. Definitely likes to be on or near the lead as well. But I think if the race sets up well and if he gets good position coming out of the number 6 post position, I think Art Collector could also be a force to be reckoned with in this race. So Art Collector and Max Player will be my 2 selections for this year's Breeders' Cup Classic. And the last thing that I wanted to mention for tonight was the fact that Breeders' Cup always does a great job in making sure that there's no cheating going on. They do strict testing all week long leading up to the event. So if Bob Baffert tries to milkshake one of his horses or all of his horses, he probably won't get away with it. Just saying. That's it for today. I really appreciate you guys watching my video as always. Be sure to subscribe or don't, and share this video if you like it or love it. Always appreciate it, guys. Have a great rest of your day. God bless. Take care, and I'll see you all next time.